Summer, sun and the sea. Zandvoort is the ideal location for a summer holiday. But the city on the northern sea coast of the Netherlands offers more than that. It's there, in the middle of the dunes, that you'll find one of the nicest tracks of the DTM. With that, I'd like to welcome you to the fourth race of the 2009 DTM season. It's not only the beautiful location which makes it a great track, but also because Audi has experienced many successful wins in the past years. The championship leader, Timo Scheider, is also a great fan of this track and hopes to extend his one-point lead against the competition a little further. It might also help that the Audi A4 DTM is 10 kilograms lighter than at the Norris ring, so it looks like a good possibility for another victory. And as you can see, there's a strong breeze here in Zandvoort. And the sand blowing from the dunes onto the track certainly doesn't make it any easier. Marcus Winkelhock will now tell us about the track and what challenges await the drivers here at Zandvoort. There's a relatively long straightaway at the start here, which gives you an opportunity to brake in front of a colleague and find a place to overtake someone. During the race, it's relatively difficult to overtake a driver at other points in Zandvoort. Here we're approaching in 6th gear, then downshifting into 2nd gear, and then accelerating again. It's relatively difficult to overtake in the infield because there's no room and there's a danger with the sand. Driving through the fast passages in 2nd gear and shifting up to 6th gear, you don't really see the incline and how difficult it is. Then it's slightly downhill into a blind curve and you downshift into 5th gear. It's also hard to overtake in the fast passages of the race. Because you're too close to the car in front, you have to steer down slightly into the slipstream. In both 2nd gear curves, you have to really be careful with accelerating out of the curves because it's really hard on the tires and you can't go overboard. Another spot where you can get sucked into the slipstream is here in the back straight. You have to downshift from 5th to 2nd gear in the chicane, and it's also another good place to overtake if the competition doesn't come out of the corner very well. You have to be a little careful in the very sharp curves here. You can drive over the edges, but not very much because it makes the car unstable. It's not possible to overtake here again on the short stretch. It's really important to come out of the next to last curve here with a lot of momentum into the straightaway. There's one more curve, but you can take it at full throttle. It's a very important curve in the race to take with as much momentum as possible to enter into the straightaway. For those who visit the DTM in Zandvoort, there's the possibility of either cooling off in the North Sea or just soaking up the sun in the dunes between races. There's hardly a better combination than the DTM and the beach, and you see it in the faces of the fans. A lot of DTMs are especially excited about this track. It's rare to feel like being on holidays before and after the race. A unique experience. You don't find such a great combination of racing and the beach very often, and if the weather's good, it's even better. I love the combination of racing and the beach. After the race, you can just go down to the beach to relax and grab a drink. Brilliant. There's a great deal to enjoy here in the dunes. In addition to plenty of skin and car paint, celebrity fans can get the idea of the driver's abilities in the obligatory taxi drive. Unbelievable. Nothing to do with driving a normal car. Respect for the drivers, because after 2 laps in the passenger seat, you're really exhausted. The beautiful environment is nice for the fans. But on the track, the closeness to the beach causes a few additional difficulties due to the constant wind-blowing sand on the track. You can't really do much about the sand. You just have to make sure you keep on the clean part of the track. Yesterday we had headwinds of up to 50 miles per hour. Just like an airplane starting off in a headwind, you have to go faster to take off. For a car, that means that the output is absorbed faster into the ground. So you really have to fight to keep the car on the ground, and you have to adjust for that. Audi has claimed victory at the Zandvoort course 3 years in a row, so they count on important points for the championship. Without a doubt, Zandvoort has been an Audi track. Over the past 7 years, Audi has won 5 times here. And the indisputable champion of this track in the Netherlands has been the Swede Matthias Ekström. He's claimed victory 3 times here. In the background you can see the finishing touches being done to his car before the qualifying round. Of course, the competition will do everything they can to break the cycle of wins. But Audi has a good chance to win because its Audi A4 DTM handles the fast curves at Zandvoort especially well. And the cars have an advantage of being 10 kilograms lighter than in the last race. We're naturally very excited to see how the race will turn out. So now you'll see the highlights of the race here at Zandvoort. The qualifying round went differently than Audi expected. A light drizzle made the track very slippery, and setting the correct adjustments was a gamble. The 2009 Audi A4 DTM was only able to reach 9th place in the qualifying round. At the moment it's the big blow of the season, and we'll just have to see what we can do with it. We'll be racing tomorrow. A slippery slope and bad luck resulted in starting positions for the other 2009 drivers at the back. My personal lap actually went really well until the next to last curve. I hit the brake a little too hard, and that cost me a lot of time. Otherwise, we certainly could have started in pole position with this car. I'm in 4th place, so I was in the last qualifying round. And it's certainly a success for us. But I can't really be too satisfied when I see that Oliver Jarvis from Team Phoenix is in 1st place with basically the same car as last year. Maybe I'll be able to get onto the podium tomorrow. But it's not over yet. Oliver Jarvis starts off in pole position. And up to now, Audi has always done well on the track next to the dunes. Things will really start to heat up before the race with the starting lineup. Oliver Jarvis is off to a good start and is able to maintain the lead. In the following lap, he gets a lot of pressure from Gary Paffett, but he doesn't make the slightest mistake. There's some tension in the first pit stop as both drivers enter at the same time, but Oliver Jarvis is able to get back onto the track before the Mercedes driver. Soon after, though, the Brit makes a small mistake and rolls shortly through the gravel pit. Paffett uses this moment to his advantage, and Jarvis finally ends up in 3rd place.
I had such high hopes starting on pole. It's never nice to go backwards, but if you'd have said to me before the weekend, would you be happy with 3rd place, I would have said, yeah, definitely.
Timo Scheider ultimately comes in 8th place after a rather unremarkable race. With that, he's only able to receive 1 extra point in his overall score. Matthias Ekström starts off in 9th place and finishes strongly after a great race. He engages in a completely different racing strategy and makes his first pit stop relatively late. Unfortunately, there were mistakes made at both of his pit stops and Ekström loses valuable time. But after that, he's racing on new tyres and aggressively passes up one driver after another. Towards the finish line, there's only a slight gap behind leader Gary Paffett, and Ekström comes in 2nd. We chose another racing strategy, like a lot of the others, and went a long time before the first pit stop. The 2nd and 3rd stints were a bit shorter, but when we got the new tyres on, we were able to drive a lot faster than the other drivers. And I have to say that in the end it's nice to get a few more points toward the championship. The next weekend I'm definitely going to fight harder to make sure we're in a better leading position from the beginning. Excellent results for Audi, 6 cars collecting points. Of course, we hoped we'd be able to acquire more points on this track at Zandvoort, especially considering how well we've done on this course over the past years. That didn't quite work out this time, but I still think we had some rather fine performances nonetheless. Ekström gave it all he had and at the end really advanced strongly. All the others drove either really slowly or he drove very quickly. Everyone's talking about the team order strategy, but he ran a really great race. Ekström and Jarvis had plenty to celebrate on the podium. But shortly after the race commissioner spoke of the team orders. At the moment, the results are still tentative because in the last few laps, Matthias Ekström was able to overtake other cars very, very quickly. We're investigating the possibility of whether paragraph 20.2 concerning team orders was compromised. The sports commissioner will oversee the investigation and then look at the data from the teams, the relevant cars, and listening in to the communication between the drivers and team leaders. That can't be done in a couple of minutes. The fans here at Zandvoort experienced a very thrilling race. But unfortunately, the results are still only tentative due to the investigation of how Matthias Ekström was able to pass up so many of his teammates so quickly. So we'll have to wait for the final results as we head to the Magdeburger Börde in 2 weeks. Then we'll see each other at the Motorsports Arena in Oschersleben. And I'll be happy to welcome you as our guest once again. Until then, goodbye.
Bis dahin, tschüss.